The Secret Service is looking for more individuals. And of course, a lot of this has happened because of the outcry. Remember that the screaming of defund the police, defund the police. You know, I spoke in Times Square in 2018, and although the New York police was nearby, I did think about my own safety even at that time, especially since I was speaking on the subject, America, Come Back to God. I'll never forget this young man. I think I've told this before, but I'll end up on a funny note, but not to start with. I'll never forget a young man came up to me and while I'm speaking, and he held his fist in my face. Now, you know, rest assured, I didn't stop from continuing my message, but it did make me wonder what's next. Well, thankfully, I can now smile a little bit and say that he then released his fist and held up his hand, and he gave me a high five. and that never interrupted my message. In fact, while I was speaking, I interrupted myself to say, God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. Yes. But you see, this kind of thing reminds me that even when I speak outside the White House, by the way, we're going to schedule that for next spring, and on the same subject, you know, but violence can come into anybody's life. But Jerry Falwell taught me that when you're serving the Lord, it comes with the turf. He said that. He told his wife that. And he certainly understood this truth because there were those times when he had security personnel with him. And all individuals like those homosexuals who threw rotten eggs on him in San Francisco, they hated him that badly, and only because he preached against sin. You know, I thought of this also when I visited with my friend Jerry Jr. several years ago. I was told by the Liberty University officials to come to the Liberty Police Station located in the law school building. And in recognition of who I was, the female officer simply asked me, do you have any metal on you? And of course, I didn't have any metal. She then escorted me to an elevator that would take me to the second floor of that building. We walked down this long hallway until we came to these huge doors, and above the doors were the words executive offices. And then she withdrew a security card, inserted it into the door that could be opened. Then she has to go through another set of doors, inserting another card, and we finally entered the executive area where Jerry's office was located. I share this only to say that such security can be found in some places where you don't expect it. I didn't expect that or whatever. But it wasn't a surprise, because even on talk line, when we heard the venom, the hate that comes out of people's mouths when you use the word Falwell. So I asked the Christians who are listening this morning, what do we do about all of this? Well, while we should not be walking around with fear on our shoulders, we should be alert to any possibility of violence, and alert law enforcement authorities just as soon as we determine that some need for assistance. But let me say this in conclusion this morning. The best thing we can do, just pray. Pray for the safety of ourselves and our loved ones. Pray for our public officials, whether they're Democrat or Republican, doesn't make any difference, that God will protect them from any kind of violence. And don't forget to include those who've actually denounced prayer, they've told us that prayer is no good. Pray for them. And thank God for the Christians who listen to Talkline, who know this truth, and that prayer does work in accordance with the will of God. Thy will be done on earth as is in heaven, and I'll guarantee you that will be my prayer for myself when I'm speaking next spring in front of the White House. God bless you, sir. You have a wonderful day. Thank you, Mr. Terry.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not as happy as I have been lately. Charlie Kirk getting murdered like he did upset me a great deal. I think he was a fine man. He was a good Christian man, and he was murdered by the devil. And the propaganda and the hate speech that has come out since then have sickened me. A man that devoted his life to telling the truth, that had a beautiful wife and 2 children, and shot down because of political purposes, and shot down because of all the lies that had to be told. And I watched it. I think I watched the news entirely last night. And they went around to all these people. And I guess they were all Democrats. I don't know. And every one of them denied saying anything ugly about it. And that was a lie. So they'd turn right around and they'd play the ugliness. You know? If you don't want to stand behind what you say about things, what you say about people, don't say them. Because in this world where every word is recorded, and then you try to go back, well, I didn't say that, I didn't say that, and then they play not one, but 2 or 3 or a dozen clips where the filth and the ugliness that's just made out of whole cloth, and there's no truth to it. And this man would sit down and talk with anybody, and he would discuss things with you, and he would come up with facts and figures. And to be murdered in cold blood like that, and then to have to listen to the conversations of the murderer with his male lover, it sickens me. The whole thing sickens me. And it makes me feel that the United States of America has got so far down in the filth and the muck. I don't know if we can ever get out of it. Not with killing wonderful, peaceful, God-fearing people like Charlie Kirk. And I'm just going to tell you something. I'm fed up with the rioters. I didn't say protesters. I said rioters. I'm fed up with the people who burned my flag. I'm fed up with the Antifa people that attack poor business owners and tear their stuff up. I'm sick of all of this. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore from any of them. I see any of that, they're going to know that they stirred up an old man. And they've got my hate for them white hot. And it's just not me. I think it's a good deal of the American people that's sick of all this filth. And none of us are going to stand for it anymore. And we're all going to get together and we're going to prosecute these people. And this guy's going to get the death penalty. And I hope they televise it on the 6 o'clock news. Every one of these killers that has murdered people out of hate lately, I think there's about 3 of them being tried right now. They all need to be executed on the 6 o'clock news. They need to show their faces when they put the needle in them, when they put the gas to them, or if it's out there in Utah, if they strap them to that chair and put the bullets in them. And if they need a good marksman to pull the trigger on this boy, I'll volunteer. I'll even bring my own gunman, because I'm sick. And I want to do every single bit of it by the letter of the law, so that all these terrible, ugly, lying people will know that there is justice in this world for the people that try to do good.
All right.
And that justice is death.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
The process is even easier and just as safe. Follow Crime Stoppers of Alamance County on social media or download the P3 Tips app today. All people have a right to be safe in their own home, and Crime Stoppers of Alamance County gives people the tools to make their neighborhoods safer.
Alamance Fence. They are a great company right here in Alamance County. Been on Talk Line.
Jim Branson with Triad Retirement Group explains how he can help senior citizens with their health insurance.
On Talk Line. 222-9224. Glad. Within hours of the shooting, students on university campuses across America gathered to pray for Kirk's family and to give thanks for his life and work, and calls for an end to hatred and division that plague America's culture. Vigils and prayer services broke out not just in Madison Square Park, New York, but also at Whitehall in London and Hyde Park in Sydney, Australia. Some sang Amazing Grace, others said, God Bless America. The Polish Parliament held a moment of silent prayer. Kirk's massive following in life has transformed by his appalling death into something far bigger, and perhaps created a watershed moment at which the good and decent ordinary people of the Western civilization refused to retreat any further before the forces of the left.
You did hear him say the Western civilization. See, the Western civilization has a false Christianity. They ain't gonna tell you that though. Religion in the West is totally corrupt and false. God stands for government of deception in the West, okay? Over here, you don't know anything that's true because they tell you everything that's a lie. So over here ain't nothing but deception. You better find out the truth for yourself, because these people that you're listening to are of the devil. I don't know if they even know they're of the devil or not, but they are.
We urge the president to lean into that approach and to be proactive in pushing the message of happy and confident conservatives like Kirk had brought to his political and cultural opponents. Americans are at a critical juncture as we approach our 250th birthday. Now is a moment for revival of the values laid out in the Bill of Rights, particularly freedom of speech. As Kirk said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil wars happen, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity. The other side has been deeply irresponsible with its persistent depiction of MAGA Republicans as fascists and Nazis and the Gestapo. Its members should be ashamed of themselves, and one hopes that they will, following Kirk's assassination, feel some remorse and responsibility for stroking the hatred that was unleashed at Utah Valley University. A concerted effort by the administration officials to meet the violent hatred with nonviolent and rigorous debate would be profoundly good for the country, but would also come with political benefits. Such a contrast with the depravity of the modern political fights that we have is stark. Nothing could be further from offer a more attractive alternative to those ghouls who posted thousands of videos celebrating Kirk's murder online. The moral high ground stands vacant, and the country will rally to a president who does not just claim to stand firm, but does. It isn't merely a militant left-wing base that cheers violence, but also elected Democrats and their legacy media allies in the press. They've stranded themselves high on the of extremism as a tide of post-Marxist Marxism, wokeism recedes nationwide. Taking political advantage of this is not the most important thing. Cultural renewal is, but it's also nothing that Trump and the Republicans have been presented with, a mission that would strengthen them as they proceed toward the 2026 midterm elections and the 2028 presidential elections beyond that. In a moving public speech on Friday evening, Kirk's wife, Erica, professed belief in God, who causes all things to work together for good and those who love him. This is difficult teaching for Christians, because all things mean bad things too, even horrific things, even murders. But with God's grace and cooperation of his people, even murder can bring about good. Trump should lead the effort to deliver America from political violence to the best way forward for our nation and the best way to honor our murdered friend. You know, I think that you cooler heads prevail. That's what you're hearing about. But that's not what's going on. And you know, on the internet, there are people just celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, and that's just, that's not the way to go. It really isn't. It's one of those things that we need to think about. And I think when cooler heads prevail, when these people who are celebrating violence and celebrating death and celebrating murder and assassination, once they get called down by the people who are not celebrating it in a nonviolent way, then some of them come to see the light. I think that's what the nonviolence in the civil rights movement of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. People saw, they visualized his nonviolence, and it spoke to a lot of people. It really did. And I think that's how you turn down the temperature. Good morning, you're on Talk Line.
Good morning, hey, how are you?
I am well. Hope you are.
Well, I heard Michael rendition of whatever it was. And I'm gonna read something here because he's always talking about these stats. He knows exactly how many times that Donald Trump's told a lie. And Michael's supposed to be an activist. He's supposed to be out here trying to work with the youth and supposedly a community leader for the youth. But the statistics prove, and this is not a racist comment, it's just fact. Overall, black Americans are arrested at 2.6 times the per capita rate of all other Americans. And this ratio is even higher for murder, arrested at 6.3 times, and robbery 8.1 times. Okay? Then he went off on you one day about red states never, why don't they send the National Guard into a red state? Well, now, Michael, guess where the National Guard is? Memphis, Tennessee. It's the highest crime rate in the country. The highest crime rate in the United States in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's where they're headed. And, I don't understand why he just, he should be thinking of ways to stop this culture of killing each other and black on black murder. I mean, I don't understand, look, if I was a black person and I saw this, if I was a person like Michael says he is, I'd be working like crazy to get churches, ministers, everybody involved to stop this, to stop this from happening, because it's become a culture. And, I just don't understand why he just doesn't, instead of calling in here saying, trying to condone Charlie Kirk getting killed, it wasn't a black person, it was a white person. But it was a person who was living with a transgender, who, as far as I'm concerned, if you're transgender, you got some mental issues. I don't care what anybody says, you got to have some mental issues. And not only was it transgender, they were furries. I don't know if you know what a furry is, Harry, but these are the ones that kind of dress up like animals. So, and they played that tape yesterday of him talking to his transgender girlfriend. And, that was a sickness thing. And then somebody on the left-wing media got on and said, what a beautiful statement. What a beautiful, he was sitting there saying that he killed him. And he said, I killed him, my love. And this left-wing person says, what a beautiful statement. I mean, what is wrong with these people? I mean, the man sat there on the phone confessing to his transgender girlfriend. He said, hatred can only go so far, and you have to end it. And he was more worried about his father finding out that he had lost his granddaddy's gun that he had passed down to him. I mean, this is just... did you hear the tape, Barry?
I did.
I mean, what is the world? And he wanted to kill himself, and his father talked him out of it and got him back home and then got him arrested. But, I just... what is going on in the world? Where are they seeing this kind of stuff? And Cash Patel says there's probably 30 people knew about this. that
He said it was more than 20. I saw that too. He said it was. He said it was many more than 20. So I don't know how many.
Some of these people, this started hitting that dark web in August, and Charlie Kirk usually doesn't announce where he's going until a week before he goes. You know, he usually doesn't put that information out. So I mean, it could have been somebody on the inside of his organization that, or somebody got inside the organization and knew his schedule, but. You know, I just, you know, I just can't believe it. You know,
well, the thing that bothers me is that the justifications that are out there. You know, there are even people that say, you know, I think that was a horrible thing, but you know, his rhetoric brought it on. You know, and then you go, wait a minute, time out. That's something, you know, that's something that doesn't need to be part of this. The fact that he was killed is what we ought to be talking about. We ought to be figuring out and calming down that, not trying to justify it with something that he said or did. That makes no sense at all.
Well, I mean, what's the difference in Michael calling in here and saying Trump lied 5,000? That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You know, you know, if you can't justify this. I mean, you just can't.
Well, and there are people out there that are trying to do that. They're trying to make, you know, what it is this guy is left wing, so they're trying to what would you call it? Trying to soften the blow that this is going to be another attack on left wing rhetoric. So they try to calm it down by making it sort of, you know, on both sides. Well, that's not helpful in this case. It really isn't. It's not helpful at all. You know, and it's like some people might say what you said in the beginning of this conversation about the statistics of black violence. What has that got to do with anything in this case? And this, you know, it's got nothing to do with that. So the thing is that we start talking about things that don't have anything to do. We ought to be talking about how can we make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. How can we turn down the temperature?
Right.
And that's not what we're doing. We're making it worse.
I mean, yeah,
some people are.
The thing is that, you know, when this first came out, when it first happened, the left wing had a conspiracy theory out there that a Republican killed him,
right? Yeah.
Because he wasn't conservative enough.
Well, it didn't last long. See, that wasn't true. So the truth played out. I mean, you know, you can try to in situations like this, try to turn them into something that they're not. And what happens is that usually falls apart pretty quickly. But yeah, you're right. They tried to make, because his family is very conservative, they tried to make it out like it was a conservative that got after, from a conservative family, that got after Charlie Kirk because he wasn't, like you said, conservative enough. But you know, that's not true. He is a radicalized guy,
you know,
who I believe, like you said. See, I really believe that he and I think this may keep him out of the death chamber or the firing squad in Utah. He's not stable. He's a nut. You know, he just isn't. You know, he's just not stable. And we need to solve the problem of, you know, and there were literally, seriously, dozens and dozens of people that knew he wasn't stable. Some of them liked the fact that he wasn't stable on the dark web. Those people didn't say anything. This could have been avoided. All somebody had to do was speak up to the police or to the authorities. You possibly could, but those people remained silent. That's what Kash Patel was talking about. This group chat that he was in on the dark web, those people should have spoken up.
Well, I got a feeling they're going to get arrested too.
Well, I believe there are going to be a whole lot of people arrested in this thing. I really do. Now, whether they're going to be, you know, look at what happened to Mangione yesterday. They dropped the top two most horrible charges against him. The judge said that they couldn't prove those charges, so they got his knocked down to second-degree murder rather than first-degree murder. And so we don't know what's going to happen with this either. But I think we're going to see more arrests. I really do.
Yeah, I hope so.
And maybe even federal charges. So we'll see.
I mean, I don't know why Michael's in here. You know, he wants to. he's trying his best to get under your skin.
Sure.
And, he's talking about you not being a journalist and all that. Look, Michael, if Trump's told 5,000 jokes, 5,000 lies, I've been listening to this program for several years now, and I say you on up there about 500,000. Because he doesn't. His facts are just the way he wants to interpret them, and he calls and says, and I knew Memphis was going to be one of the cities they ended up going to.
Yeah.
Because it is the worst city in the country. It's in bad shape, and now they're going to Tennessee.
All right, well,
now the mayor doesn't want a mayor, but says he's going to cooperate, but he doesn't want a mayor.
Yeah.
And but he's a Democratic mayor, and he's pulling the same old thing the rest of them do. But he did say he would cooperate. So let's hope he does. But
right.
Why would you want to end that? Why wouldn't you want your city to rid that? I don't understand.
I think a lot of the mayors think it's going to make them look bad, and they just don't want to be part of it.
Well, it should make them look bad because they've gone on all this time and haven't done anything about it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. 222-9224.
Me.
Yes, sir.
My poor people, has done gone pure crazy. You see what I'm saying? Listen to what I'm fixing to tell you. Something's got to be done with God's people. I'm not talking about blacks and whites and Chinese and Jews and things. I'm talking about the whole world. Something has got to stop these people from the lies and things you're telling between each other. Like you're talking about crime and going on. The one that went into church and killed 9 people was white. The one who was up in the motel with a homemade machine gun, killed 57 people, and then killed himself was white. You understand what I'm saying? Where's your mass murders of your black people? And you do say they're killing each other. That's true. They will do that. But your mass murders is white people. But you never talk about them. You see what I'm saying? You don't hear me talk about one person and going on. I'm talking about the whole world. Listen, regardless of what you say, God's got to stop you. Because there's nobody else can stop you, just like he stopped Pharaoh. He's going to send somebody here to stop you people from running your mouth about each other. You see what I'm saying? Listen, I've never heard of Charlie Kirk. I can't say nothing about Charlie Kirk. I've never heard of him on this show before he got killed. And anybody says it is a lie. You haven't said a word. I listen to you every time you're on here, every hour. You ain't said nothing about this. Now, all of a sudden, he's a hero of speaking hate. Now, I know after I heard of what he's doing, this is what he's doing. Just like Barry. I don't care what Barry say. He speaks hate every time he's on this program. He don't talk about what people are doing. He'll talk about one race or something other like that. He talks about Michael and going on, and he's 10 times worse than Michael. And Jim calls himself, listen, because I know who Jim is, I listen to what comes out of his mouth. Not to who you claim and people claim he is. I listen to what he says. And he tells lies. He speaks things that God don't say in the Bible and going on, and he don't know the Bible. You see what I'm saying? Listen, Samson, in the Bible now, this is not me, this is the Bible, killed thousands of people with the jawbone of an ass. You understand what I'm saying? But he was still God's people. See, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the same thing I'm trying to tell you about what's going to happen to your president. Listen, I see who he is, because God gives me eyes. I hear him because he gives me ears. God gives them to me. I see what he speaks. I see what he's doing. This is not judgment. This is judging this man by who he is. You see, this is what I know who he is. He fondled women, your president. That's what he done. Yes, I know from what I've heard about and seen of him, sure, he's in that Epstein stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Because he loves young women. You see what I'm saying? Regardless to who you say he is, I know who God says he is. You see what I'm saying? You people will not overcome God. Listen, there's already a tornado done touched down in Utah. You see? It's something on the news this morning about some black man hanging up in a tree. You see? I can hear and I can see, and I use these things that God tells me. You see what I'm saying? You can't do the things that you people are doing and judge people by who they is. And yes, there's people that hates black people, white people. And listen, and his black people that hates white people because what you done to them. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just as white as I want to be, or black as I want to be. You understand what I'm saying? I got pretty hair and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? I was a good-looking young man when I was young and going on. I have nothing to be jealous about nobody. You understand what? I can be who I want to be. My daddy had blue eyes and brown hair. My mother was nothing but an Indian. Black hair, black as ink, and going on. I have nothing to be judged by you. I can be judged by God. You understand what I'm saying? You people, I'm 83 years old, full 83. You people will do good to get to 80 because of the wickedness that you're doing. You see, you can set up and say that Kirk was a fine man and all that and going on, but you are not God. You understand what I'm saying? He will be judged by God Almighty and Jesus Christ, his son. You'll have to go through him to get into heaven. You understand what I'm saying? This is what God gave his son because of what you done to him. You're the one that crucified Christ, not a black man. You're the people, the Romans, was their crucifixion. You understand what I'm saying? You're not reading the right Bible, but you read this crap and stuff that these folks are writing, these books and things, sit up and grin with each other, go on and think you can fool God, but you can't.
All right.
Look, he's going to stop you people in these 3 years that this infidel is in the president. He's going to stop you people from what you're doing. This man's not doing what's right, and I know it.
All right.
See, you can back him all you want to, and you people can call me what you want to and going on, but God's not going to punish me. He's going to punish you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. 222-9224. Let me...
Mr. Harry,
Young man, how are you?
what the heck is going on?
Well, my WNBA team won last night. It was a must-win. Now it's tied 1-1 in the playoffs, so I'm excited about that. That's the sports. That's the sports I'm paying attention to right now.
Hey, there you go. Hey, I want to ask you just a generalized question, and maybe I'm so far out of touch that I don't know what the heck's going on. But does Reps and Dems hate each other so much that they can't have civil discord between one another? You say, okay, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the Cash Patel, Cory Booker interaction yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, grant you, I didn't research it. I didn't see what caused the discourse between the two yelling and screaming at each other and calling names at each other. But I guess as you would say, you're painting with a broad brush. And I'm just generally asking a question.
Well, I think that you gave a very good example. That's an excellent example, of two people that, I think Kash Patel and Cory Booker are probably both very okay people, personable people. But when it comes to politics, they're at opposite ends of the spectrum. And what happens is that conversation started out low and got loud. And it was, you're exactly right. Can those two people have a civil conversation about their disagreements? Obviously not. Now, in that situation, in another situation, who was playing to the camera? I think both of them were probably playing to the camera. And that's one of the things that happens. I saw an experiment long ago. This was an experiment done by one of the news services, where they talked to politicians with a camera on about, they had Democrats and Republicans in the room, and they talked about controversial issues, and they found out with the cameras running, they yelled and screamed at each other. But when the cameras weren't running, they didn't yell and scream at each other as much. So I think there's a component in this about, they're trying to play to their base, and I think both of them succeeded to playing to their base by yelling at each other, and I think that's a bad thing. But that appears to me the way today's politics works. We just yell and scream at each other.
So do you think, while they're sitting in that setting that they were in with, as you said, cameras rolling, that they yell and scream and holler at each other, and then when they get behind closed doors, hey, come on, let me go buy you a cup of coffee?
In the case of those two people, probably not. But that's just an opinion. I have no way of knowing that. In other situations, that happen when the senators go after each other in a meeting, they've got somebody in front of them, or the congressman, they've got somebody in front of them, they yell back and forth at each other, and he says, you're taking my time, and, and they don't care, I think when they get behind closed doors, they are civil to each other, because they have to work together, and I think they do that. And I've heard several interviews and read several pieces about that being true. When they get behind closed doors, they calm down. But I think that there's some people that just have animosity toward each other. I think the two of them really do, and I don't think when they go behind closed doors, they're not going to be happy.
And I also want to say, what has happened to the quote unquote language of today? You know who I'm talking about. Certain specific senators, plural, drop the F-bomb in every other sentence, or drop a cuss word every other sentence. I'm sorry, this is just stupid me talking, and that's all it is. I would honestly vote for the other party before I would vote for that person, and I don't care which side they're on. If my senator or my congressman or my local official, and I understand it, in every other sentence and every other word they drop the F-bomb and cuss and this, that, and another, I'm sorry. You are not going to get, and I don't care which side of the aisle you're on.
Right, me either. I really don't. My daddy used to tell to me, when you're having an argument and you have to cuss in order to have this argument, you lose. You don't win.
Oh,
and so I learned, if you're going to, being on the radio, we're not allowed to cuss on the radio. So I have arguments with people all the time that where it's easy for me not to cuss because I'm on the radio. But the thing is, when you start having to throw in those expletives that we delete every day on the radio, those you lose the argument, because that's not civil discourse. That's irreverent discourse, and that doesn't solve anything. But I think that when people get mad, they're losing the argument, and so they start throwing
So
out.
you brought up a subject that I've always wondered, and I hadn't been able to figure it out. And I've been meaning to ask you this question for a long time. Why is it okay? And I understand both of you are followed by the FCC, meaning radio and TV. Both of y'all are followed by the FCC, so on and so forth, kind of that kind of stuff. But y'all, when I say, is it a station rule or is it a FCC rule that you can't say ugly words? For instance, and now I'm not going to say it, so don't put your hand on the button, but the B word, the female B word, you hear that on the TV all the time. You see, you hear people say, you hear people say cuss words all the time. And this is in mainstream TV. But yet, when you get on, again, I don't know if it's the station or FCC policy, and that's what I'm asking.
Okay, I can help you with that. Have you ever noticed, like, for example, in they said some things in Yellowstone. They use words in Yellowstone.
That's a good one, right there.
But have you noticed that when a program as big or as gigantic like Law and Order, let's say, that's now in reruns, that when it goes on to certain stations on cable, certain stations on the air, that you hear them bleep out words, even, and that's what that is that's the station saying, I'm not putting up with that. I'm not going to say that. The FCC does not, one of the comedy routines used to be the 7 words you can't say on radio or television. Well, you better not say those words. It's not, the FCC will challenge you. Those words are not banned. They're just not used. You got better sense than to use those words, because the FCC will say you're not serving the community. That's what you're supposed to be do when you use words like that. And that's not just 7. There's probably 6 dozen words that the FCC probably wouldn't like for you to use. But there's no law, there's no FCC rule or regulation that says you can't say these 7 words. It doesn't exist. And so if you do it appropriately, see what the
station rule?
Yeah, basically, we don't cuss. Most television stations don't cuss. They don't use those words. We're talking about some of the simple words like, damn and hell. They use those words. But the thing is, it's mostly, you understand that the FCC doesn't have a rule, but they don't want you to say those words, so they can come after you for not serving the public if you're using those words. It's not that those words are illegal. It's just that they think if you're using these words, they're looking at you saying you're not serving the community. So we don't want to get involved in that. So we stay away from it. So that's why when you see, a local channel running a rerun of a program that ran on the network, they bleep some of the words. They let it go. The network let it go. I am flabbergasted at the words that they let go now, that the censors don't censor anymore. Some of the words that they use on Yellowstone. I mean, my goodness, I would never say any of those words. Now, but you got to remember, it's not illegal to say those words. But if you get the ire of the FCC up, they'll look at other things, and I'll guarantee you that if you say all these terrible words on the air, the FCC will come and look at you and find something you did at the transmitter site. So the best thing for you to do is to behave yourself, serve the public, follow the rules that are there, and mind your own business. That's the way you stay out of the FCC's book.
Yeah. Thank you for that information. I've been wanting to ask you that for a long time, and I appreciate it, and I know my time's up.
All right, appreciate it. George Carlin, 7 words you can't say on television. There's no written rule that you can't say that. Now, there was several television stations out in California. Most of them were public broadcasting, where they wanted to, they showed on television questionable films, and on the radio they used questionable words. And they were challenged for those words by the FCC, and the rulings that came down from the court said, you know, you don't have any rules and regulations about those words as long as you don't use, you're not serving the public if you use those words in a forum that attracts, let's say, children.
But Zimmerman said, Charlie said that he attacked Zimmerman. He said that at one of his shows. And he said that Joe Biden deserved the death penalty. President Joe Biden, while he was president of the United States, deserved the death penalty. Now, what Christian would say that about the sitting president deserved the death penalty? What did Joe Biden do to deserve the death penalty? But you know what? My grandma had the old saying when people used to be pulling people up on a throne, on a pedestal, and my grandma used to say, if you want to crown them, crown them. But my God, if you sit high and look low, he knows all about it. And he knows all about it. Y'all can sit on here and call Charlie Kirk all these great things. God has the final say. Don't worry about it. You may crown him on this side, but you better hope that he gets his crown on the other side. And that you have nothing to do with. That's all about God. That's all in God's hands. Better worry about your crown instead of worrying about Charlie Kirk's crown. Because some of the things that you said and do, because I believe that the United States is a vessel to do good. And when we're letting little kids starve because the President of the United States, that food rotten, then incinerate a ton of food, and then we try to make the excuse where it was expired. Well, why did it expire? Because he wouldn't let it be shipped out. Already paid for. Could have saved 1 million kids, according to experts. But, you know, I'm tired talking about Charlie Kirk. Let me talk about some economic news that ain't going to be said on here. North Dakota is now the new state that is calling for aid. Why? Because their soybean crop. Nobody's buying the soybean. Who used to buy the soybean? China. Last year they bought $13.2 billion of soybeans. Helped a lot of farmers. How much have they bought this year? Zero. Now that don't only kill the farmers who are now asking for help. They're also, well, how do the soybeans get to China? Well, first you got to have a truck. You got to have somebody that has a contract that moves those soybeans. So you got trailers that are going to be sitting idle. There's food down in Florida just came up. The strawberry crop rotting in fields. Nobody to pick them. The Hyundai raised because you can't get all these criminals that we were told it was propagandized on this station that they was just going after criminals and they were going to only get criminals, illegals. Well, they went down there in Georgia and raided a Honda plant and took all the South Koreans out of there who had visas to be here, but they was those that were add to their numbers. So now South Korea said, okay, we're not going to play this game. We had over $1 billion of investments in the United States. We stopped it. There was a Honda plant that was being built, another plant that was being built. They stopped it. It's now nobody's working on that plant. Now, what does that do? That don't just hurt the workers that are there. What about the contractors? What about the people laying cement? What about all those people? They're out of a job now. All this because of Donald Trump and his tariffs. And we're going to hear there's going to be a way we're going to try to make excuses for that. But now the other thing, the attacks on Constitution, which when we heard Charlie, Mr. Speaker X say this, he said people don't love the Constitution as much now. Well, we now have Donald Trump suing the New York Times because they didn't endorse him. They endorsed Kamala Harris. And I was reading some of the experts, lawyers, who read that it was a frivolous lawsuit. And he put in there that you didn't say how great of a genius I was. That's actually in the lawsuit. And why did he sue the New York Times at this time? Because the New York Times wrote an expose that said that he was grifting the White House in the tune of $2 billion that he gave aid of chips, the technical chips,
to the Saudi, to the United States Emirates, and they donated $2 billion, or invested $2 billion into his crypto account. Crap, making money. Now, we had a problem when Joe Biden's son was making money off of his daddy, but now we don't have a problem that Trump has made $2 billion while he was in the White House, while he was negotiating a deal for our products to another country. They get the product. He gets $2 billion in his personal account. We don't have a problem with that. And the day after the New York Times wrote that article, he then filed a lawsuit against them. Is that a coincidence? Got to be a coincidence. He couldn't be just filing a lawsuit, frivolous lawsuit, because they wrote an article exposing what he's doing. Oh, not Donald Trump. He couldn't be doing that. And if he is doing it, the people that make excuses for him, they ain't gonna believe it. They're gonna make a reason on why he's doing that. Another situation that's going on with Donald Trump.
You're at 6 minutes right now, Michael.
Well, okay. The last thing I want to say. One reporter asked him about.
Him and that other guy talked forever. He didn't say nothing about no time when him and that Barry was talking forever, talking about Michael. He didn't cut him off. Notice that when you go back and listen.
Because when you ask me those type of questions, that's hate speech, and maybe my DOJ will look into you. I thought we loved the First Amendment right to speech and free press here. Concerned, we need to be concerned.
Absolutely, we do. Thank you. Absolutely concerned. If people are filing frivolous lawsuits, I'm against it. If people are saying things that aren't true, I'm against it. Absolutely against it. But I went and looked. Michael was talking about Snopes. Now, Snopes has been attacked for being unfair, for not, they have their own group of things that they want to support, and those things that they don't want to support. So they're not being fair sometimes. I wouldn't use them as a fact check. Snopes is not really a good one. But anyway, I went and looked at what Michael had said. You see, you need to look at some of the things that they're saying about Charlie Kirk. And one of the things that they said was exactly the same thing that I said to Michael. I thought it was funny. One of the statements in the Snopes thing was it right or wrong? It lacks context. And I think that's what you hear. That's what you hear from Michael. He gives you these things, but he doesn't give you the context in which these things were said. People say things. It's like in what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's been proven over and over again that the people that attack Trump for what he said in Charlottesville, they left out the context. They didn't use anything. But that's what's going on. You can say Charlie Kirk said this, Charlie Kirk said that. Well, what in context? What was he talking about? Whose question was he answering? What was the conversation about? That's what Snopes means when they say you lack context. You say he said this. Well, okay, what was going on at the time he said that? And it's funny because that's exactly the thing that I said to Michael. You're quoting these things out of context. Somebody's having a conversation with somebody, and you pull one little thing out of it. It's like Michael brought this up on this program, which is absolutely true. when Nancy Pelosi said we have to, read the bill, we have to pass the bill before we read it. Yeah, but that was taken out of context, and he was absolutely correct. But now he does that all the time. I guess maybe he learned from Nancy Pelosi. That quote that you can take something out of context and make somebody look really bad, because that's what he does on this program all the time. He says Charlie Kirk said this thing. Well, you don't mention what the conversation was when he said that, and what did that quote have to do with the conversation that they were having. Let me tell you about the folks over at South Court Drug. Okay, South Court Drug. If you want a friendly neighborhood drugstore, people that just treat you right, that you love going in there, you have conversations with folks. They treat you like a person, not like a number. Well, South Court Drug is the place. They're at 210 East Elm Street in Graham. You can call them, 336-226-4401. Talk to them. You know, they'd love to talk to you about your prescriptions and how they can save you money. Southcourt Drug is a locally owned pharmacy with an experienced staff that offers professional and friendly service. There are no long waiting lines. You'll never be ignored. You can expect someone to greet you, wait on you right away, whether you need an over-the-counter item, a prescription filled, or a gift idea. Now, Southcourt accepts most insurance programs. Now, if you don't have insurance or you have a high deductible, you'll find that Southcourt drug prices can beat most big chain store prescription prices. And they don't mind if you check. Check on them. 336-226-4401. 210 East Elm Street in Graham. It is Southcourt Drug. One final thing I want to tell you about, Select Bank. Boy, what a friendly neighborhood bank. You're looking for a place where you got people you can talk to, people that will answer your questions, that are so friendly. It's Select Bank. 3158 South Church Street. Now, they're committed to strengthening our local neighborhoods and our small businesses and our people by being a trusted partner. The relationship that Select Bank has with its customers is what makes them special. It's not a transaction with them. It's personal, checking, savings, personal loans, business loans, home mortgages, commercial real estate. Select Bank is full service, a bank local where people matter most. You can call them 336-270-3750. Remember, you can always access your account information with online banking, or you can reach the Customer Solution Center if you have a problem from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. using your local Select Bank number. Tell them you heard us talking about them on Talkline. That's all the time we have for Talkline. Thank you for joining us. We will be back again tomorrow with more Meeting Place next.
This is a Crime Stoppers alert from your Alamance County-wide area Crime Stoppers and your hometown radio station, WBAG. Alamance County Crime Stoppers was founded in 1982. Crime Stoppers encourages members of the community to assist local law enforcement agencies in the fight against crime by overcoming the two key elements that inhibit community involvement: fear and apathy. Crime Stoppers provides a telephone number, 336-229-7100, a mobile app, P3 Tips, and web tips to encourage citizens in the community to volunteer vital information helpful to law enforcement agencies to fight against crime. Alamance County Crime Stoppers has cleared thousands of cases and recovered over $1 million worth of drugs and stolen property. Crime Stoppers pays a cash reward up to $2,500 for tips that lead to an arrest or solving a case. Callers can remain anonymous and are eligible to receive a cash reward if the information leads to an arrest or grand jury indictment of a felony offender. Your donation is critical to the ongoing efforts of Crime Stoppers to make our homes, businesses, and community a safer and more enjoyable place to live and work. Checks can be made out to Alamance County Crime Stoppers and sent to 267 West Front Street, Burlington, 27217. Crime Stoppers has been approved by the Internal Revenue Service as a 501c3 organization. Therefore, all contributions are tax deductible. Alamance County Crime Stoppers is affiliated with the following: Alamance County Sheriff's Department, Burlington Police, Elon Police, Gibsonville Police, Graham Police, Mebane Police, Fall River Police, and Elon University Police. You need not reveal your identity.
can you represent me and say you love me and you tell lies to my people? Who are you representing really? Are you representing me? Or do you have a mask on representing me, but you're really the devil?
Democrats have made clear to the American people over the last several weeks that this country is far too expensive. The cost of living is way too high. And Donald Trump, as well as House Republicans, have failed to do anything about it. Donald Trump and House Republicans promised to lower the high cost of living on day one. Costs haven't gone down in the United States of America. It's gone up. America is too expensive. Inflation is on the rise. And Donald Trump and Republicans have failed to keep their core promise to make life more affordable. Housing costs are too high. Healthcare costs are too high. Childcare costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. Electricity bills are skyrocketing as we speak because of the failed policies of Donald Trump and the one big ugly bill. And the American people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, to live paycheck to paycheck. Can't thrive, and in so many instances can barely survive. America is too expensive. Republicans have broken our healthcare system and unleashed the unfortunate and painful reality that millions of Americans are about to experience dramatic increases in their healthcare premiums, copays, and deductibles. Millions of families will incur thousands of dollars in additional healthcare costs a year when they are barely making it right now.
Come on back, peaceful. Easy now.
Easy now. Nigga, come back here. Nigga, come back here.
With my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, when I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it.
You have made it 100 miles to freedom. Would you like to pick a new name to mark your freedom?
Phantom. Early in the morning,
Sing, Cynthia.
the sun begins